So I've got a new theory as to how BlackRock might be controlling and manipulating the markets. I know it sounds a little bit conspiratorial, but this week was a really interesting one because we saw not only Larry Fink and JP Diamond make an announcement and make a little bit of an appearance at the Saudi Arabia Investment Initiative, but in the same week, we saw a couple of really interesting articles drop that reminded me of this one in Bloomberg. The Great Bitcoin Power Shift has large holders dumping 500,000 Bitcoin. And then I've got this other video I want to show you that came out 2 days ago. BlackRock is pulling Bitcoin whales into Wall Street's orbit. There's been a lot of speculation recently about why the price of Bitcoin is dumping while stocks and gold go on aggressive rallies to new all-time highs and Bitcoin's doing nothing. I think this new theory about BlackRock might help to explain it. We're going to dive into all of that and more. Let's first play one of these clips that I found this week that I think is really interesting. Let's start with the Larry Fink one before we start talking about Jamie Dimon.
From central banks is what is the role of tokenization and digitization? How quickly should they think about digitizing their own currency? What does that mean for the role of the dollar? If every currency digitizes and we have it, what does that mean for bank payments? What does that mean for the payment companies like MasterCard and Visa? All these are being questioned right now. I think we spend so much time talking about AI. We're not spending enough time talking about how quickly we're going to tokenize every financial asset and the opportunity we're going to have a digital wallet and moving, ETFs and other things through a digital wallet. And I think that's going to happen worldwide very rapidly. And I think most countries are ill-prepared for that and underappreciate how technology is changing that. Not unlike how technology is changing AI and other things. It will be changing the technology around the plumbing of finance.
Okay, so there's not a lot of big red flags in that clip from Larry Fink, is there? Except for the whole tokenize everything. This has been a part of Larry's narrative for a long time. He wants to tokenize everything. But what I think is interesting, this speech starts flooding the social media floodgates, so to say. At the exact same time, we see this article drop in Bloomberg. Now, Bloomberg has a really interesting video associated with this specific article. But I think the headline says a lot of it. And it might explain, I think, some of the counter arguments to the paper Bitcoin narrative. We'll get to that in a moment. But as we can see, BlackRock is pulling Bitcoin whales into Wall Street's orbit. I was doing a little bit of digging on this, and I think it's a really interesting narrative that might actually help to explain what is really going on with the price of Bitcoin. So we can see this on the same day Bitcoin Magazine posted this article. Bitcoin whales are moving on-chain wealth onto Wall Street via BlackRock's IBIT Bitcoin ETF. A quiet migration is underway among Bitcoin's wealthiest holders, from cold storage to custodians. Now, again, I'm not going to break down this whole article. I've just got a few bits highlighted here, but we can see this recent change has come just after the regulators have approved in-kind transactions for spot Bitcoin ETFs this summer. Now, let's not forget, this was one of my main concerns about the Bitcoin ETFs. I've been saying this for months, if not 2 years now, since the launch of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. We've been screaming, why do they not allow in-kind Bitcoin redemptions? Why is it not the same mechanism that Hong Kong is using for their Bitcoin ETF? Again, it couldn't have been impossible if Hong Kong figured it out. BlackRock apparently couldn't, but now they have. So again, a lot of people who will be, of the mindset, there is no such thing as paper Bitcoin, there is no such thing as a supply shock. They've been pointing at this for a long time, and they're saying, look, in-kind redemptions will change a lot of things. So this is, I think, one thing that has accelerated a trend that I think is really interesting. In-kind redemptions is pulling a lot of Bitcoin into the Bitcoin ETFs. we can see here, BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, has already processed over $3 billion worth of these conversions, according to Robbie Michnick. He's, of course, head of digital assets at BlackRock. Now, again, this is where things get interesting, because we're all aware of this article. We've broken it down extensively on the channel. Long-term holders have sold 1 million Bitcoin since September 2024. So a lot of people who have, I think, very fairly been of the argument that the reason the price of Bitcoin hasn't pumped yet is simply because a lot of Bitcoin long-term holders have been selling their Bitcoin. And I believed this narrative until this week, because of course there's a couple of really good charts that highlight what I'm trying to illustrate here. Let me find one that's going to do the best job. Maybe this. So I'm going to pull up a chart. The red zones on this chart is showing us the reductions in Bitcoin held by long-term holders. You know what? I can find a better chart than that for you guys. This is better. So again, the narrative until today that I've accepted is that, okay, we're in one of these red box areas. Every time Bitcoin gets above an all-time high, what does the orange line do? This is looking at long-term holders. Long-term holders sell some Bitcoin. Now, we've seen long-term holders sell about 1 million coins over the past 18 months, since Bitcoin kind of popped above that $70,000 per coin figure. But what this new information is claiming is that, wait on a minute, maybe a lot of the on-chain transactions that we see is actually OGs and hodlers moving their Bitcoin into BlackRock's IBIT Bitcoin ETF. Again, a lot of people would say, why the freak would you want to do that? Oh, I don't want to hold an ETF. Again, there's going to be a lot of lending and borrowing products rolled out, not only on BlackRock, but also by some of the biggest banks, that I think a lot of individuals might find attractive. Again, I don't find them attractive. I tell you all the time, why would you trust Bitcoin and Larry Fink and all of these big banks? But I think this is just inevitably how this, I don't want to say attack yet, but how this is going to occur. These big guys are going to get involved. It's as simple as that. Now, speaking about the big guys who got involved, I'm not done talking about BlackRock just yet. I do want to talk about one of BlackRock's best friends, though, JP Morgan. Because just 6 days ago now, we saw this backflip from JP Morgan. He's now accepting Bitcoin as collateral for loans at the bank. Don't you think that's interesting? I think it's incredibly interesting, especially when you consider, again, coincidence could just be a coincidence, but Jamie Dimon was also at the same little meetup that Larry Fink was recently at this week, and he had this to say.
I've gotten away with no damage so far. Crypto is real. If you mean blockchain, stable coins, you have a JP Morgan deposit coin, you can move stuff, smart contracts are real, all that stuff is real. It will be used by all of us to facilitate better transactions and customer service. Anybody.
Okay, so there we have it. Jamie's done a little bit of a backflip here. I think that's kind of interesting. But again, why? That's the bigger question. Why is it happening now? Why are we slowly but surely starting to see things change? I actually think that a lot of this quote-unquote sell pressure that a lot of people have thought that it's been going on for the past 18 months, it actually could be a lot of people just simply moving Bitcoin into BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, which again, this kind of reshapes the narrative that we've been talking about here on the channel for a while. The narrative has been the reason why Bitcoin's price has been slow, disappointing. This has been the worst bull run year ever. So if you look at all of the Bitcoin halvings, 2012, 16, 2020, and 2024, each year and even 18 months after a halving, typically the most bullish time in Bitcoin. The past 12 to 18 months has been the most disappointing, like by an absolute long shot. I had some really cool charts I wanted to show you on that exact topic. That's I think again, everybody's wondering, why is the price not going up? Because we can see it. Bitcoin's, it hasn't done a lot over the past couple of years. And this narrative that OGs are just selling some Bitcoin, this was the agreed upon reason for why we weren't pumping until this week, until I think this article came out in Bloomberg that really caught my attention. And until I want to show you a video in a moment. But before I show you a video, let's just put things into context. So just showing you guys how horrific this October has been. Bitcoin's down 6.84% this month, making it the first red October since 2018 and the worst October in 11 years. Again, I'm as guilty as charged. I've been saying for months here on this channel, historically, October's been really bullish. Well, as you can see here, previous performance is not indicative of future performance because October has essentially rug pulled us. It's been horrific. It hasn't been bullish at all. But I think if we, let me know in the chat whether this video plays. I'd love to play a little bit of this video. BlackRock is pulling Bitcoin whales into Wall Street's orbit. If there's no audio, just let me know and I'll summarize it for you guys. Firstly, I just want to interrupt that video. I think that's incredibly, it's a dirty word. Regulatory markets to the rescue, TradFi to the rescue. I'll always remind you guys, never, ever, ever trust any TradFi with your Bitcoin. I'm still shocked that so many OGs have been transferring Bitcoin to BlackRock. Again, I'll always remind you guys, get your hands on some Bitcoin and do it in a self-sovereign way. This is why I'm such a big fan of mining Bitcoin. It's the best way to get your hands on Bitcoin without having your identity tied to it. So again, if you want to either buy a Bitcoin mining rig yourself or take advantage of the simple and very easy hosted mining solution, check out what Blockware is doing. They've got solutions for whatever problems that you guys might have. They can hold your hand and walk you through the process of buying your own Bitcoin mining machine or simply taking on all of the responsibility themselves for you with their hosted mining setup. As you can see, they've got hosted mining facilities in Georgia, Texas, Iowa, Kentucky. Book a call with them. They'll teach you guys what is the best move for you. Don't forget that a lot of American investors might be eligible for a 100% tax write-off by buying Bitcoin mining rigs. So again, don't trust Larry, don't trust the institutions. Even if they call themselves safe, they're not safe. They will run away with your Bitcoin. I want to, before playing that clip that apparently didn't have any more audio, let's actually break down what's happening. I want to walk you guys through it step by step, what is happening. Because we have seen, I mean, it's pretty clear. Yes, some whales have sold their Bitcoin. Let's not forget what happened a few months ago. We had that massive whale sell 80,000 Bitcoin. This was, 80,000, yes, 80,000 Bitcoin, $10 billion worth. And a lot of people are saying maybe this is just a trend that's going to continue. BlackRock is pulling Bitcoin whales into Wall Street's orbit. Again, if I were to step back here, I kind of think this is inevitable. It's always going to happen. Just because you see how much did Robbie Mitchnick say? $3 billion worth of Bitcoin move into BlackRock. think of the bigger picture here. This could be WHALES just saying, look, maybe I want the ability to borrow against 10% of my stack. I've got 100,000 coins. I don't mind putting 10,000 at risk in BlackRock. If that's more what I think is happening. I think I've seen a lot of people say, oh, Bitcoin's failed. Bitcoin's this, you can see here, Wall Street has won the battle. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the right framing of what we're seeing here. I kind of think it's inevitable we were going to see this. And it's inevitable that, after these long-term holders have been sitting on so much profit for so many years, of course they're going to take a few profits. It was always going to happen. But I think it's an interesting narrative because it's a new narrative that kind of puts a new spin on this idea that we've been talking about for multiple years now, paper Bitcoin. What is happening? Is somebody suppressing the price? Not sure. I think this narrative is a really interesting perspective because if a lot of the supposed selling that we've seen from these long-term holders is actually not selling at all, and it's just Bitcoin moving from on-chain into BlackRock, well, then all of a sudden you've got to ask yourself the question, why is the price not going up? It makes me even more, let's say, conspiratorial. Let's just say suspicious. I think suspicious is better framing of what's actually going on with the price. Now, again, I wanted to provide you guys with a little bit of perspective here. Everybody's freaking out over the price of Bitcoin right now. So let's check in on where it is. Right now, Bitcoin is literally like 15% from all-time highs. When you zoom out, we have seen routinely 15, 22, 33% corrections since Bitcoin's rallied for pretty much the past 3 years straight. Since December 2022, when Bitcoin was at $15,000 a coin, we've rallied to 125. And what do we always remind you guys here on this channel? It's never going to be a predictable stair-step fashion. It's going to be incredibly volatile. You can see what we're seeing right now kind of reminds me a lot of that 2017 bull run. For anyone who missed it, you can see we saw 6 corrections bigger than 29%. So is what we're seeing now anything out of the ordinary? Is this cause for concern? Is BlackRock going to suppress the price of Bitcoin forever? No, I don't think. There's a lot of very inflammatory arguments right now on Twitter. A lot of people are really concerned. That's what they are. A lot of people's really concerned about the price of Bitcoin. I'm just not. When you zoom out, I think what we're seeing is a very interesting. We're seeing something different. We're seeing something that we've never really seen before in Bitcoin. Bitcoin hasn't really taken this long to get really motoring after a halving. Friend of the channel, Mitch here, sums it up nicely. Bitcoin's up 60% over the past year, 209% over the past 2 years, and 416% over the past 3 years. Despite all of that, sentiment is incredibly low. That's, I think that's a little bit more perspective for you guys. This is also, I wanted to have a look at the fear and greed index, because that's at some pretty wild levels when you consider the fact that, yeah, we're only 15% off all-time highs, yet the market is fearful. Have a look at this. This is actually kind of wild. We're at 34 on the fear and greed index. Again, this isn't an indicator to trade off. This isn't financial advice. I'll say that in every video. But what this is it's interesting. It's very rare you see the market this fearful when you're 15% off all-time highs. And everybody thinks Bitcoin's dead and it's $107,000 a coin. Again, I don't know where Bitcoin's going to be in 2 weeks from now. You saw my October predictions. But I do think there is a serious kind of gap in the fundamentals here. What happened recently? We know we have more rate cuts. Powell lowered rates by 25 basis points yesterday. We have more confirmation that quantitative tightening is officially ending on December 1st. That's about 32 days now. We did a live stream on this yesterday. I'm not going to rehash it all. But that means I mean, if you read between the lines, if they end in quantitative tightening, quantitative easing is coming. Liquidity is coming back into the system. So fundamentally, I don't know how anybody could be bearish on Bitcoin right now. It's really tough to be bearish on Bitcoin. I got a few more reasons as to why I'm not bearish on Bitcoin and incredibly bullish on Bitcoin. But I want to quickly talk about some of the bigger problems in the Bitcoin space. I'm sure a lot of you guys have gone through these such problems. So this here is a bag of all of the hardware wallets that I play around with. So again, these are just toys. I use these. I experiment with these. I don't keep all of my net worth in a little bag with me everywhere I travel. That would be incredibly dangerous. I don't do that. I don't keep any Bitcoin on me that I can spend. But you can probably see something about that bag. Look at how many cables is in that puppy. I don't know if you guys know, but this is a common problem that I'm always faced with when I'm lugging around hardware wallets. I've got cables coming out of the wazoo, which is why, again, I always like to remind you guys about solutions, very innovative solutions. If you guys didn't know, Trezor just released their brand new hardware wallet this week, and guess what? It has no cables. This is the Trezor Model 7. Trezor's been working on this specific model for 2 years now. I flew all the way from South America to Europe just for the launch of this thing. I believe there is less than 200 people on the planet that has this new hardware wallet right now. And again, like I said, it's cordless. So gone are the days where you have to be dealing with this, 1,000 cables like me. Again, highly recommend you check out this brand new hardware wallet from Trezor. It is also the very first hardware wallet that's actually quantum ready. Again, everybody talks about the fears of quantum computing. What's going to happen to my Bitcoin if quantum computers magically start stealing Bitcoin out of the wallets of Bitcoin holders? I've always been skeptical that that would ever happen. But if you are worried about it, Trezor Model 7, it's quantum ready. So I highly recommend you guys check it out. As I said, brand new hardware wallet. Right now, it is on pre-sale, so you can order it, and you can get the Trezor Safe 7 by November 23rd. So again, not many people have these things. I believe less than 200 people have these on the face of the planet. So highly recommend you go check them out. You can get the I like the green color. I actually haven't seen the green color. I showed you guys the orange one the other day. So again, check that out. There's a link down below for Trezor. While we're talking about self-custody and taking self-custody of Bitcoin, Ledger also released a hardware wallet of their own. Again, I love 2025. The two biggest Bitcoin hardware wallet companies in the world are releasing new options for you guys to play around with. So again, Ledger also released the Ledger Nano Generation 5. So again, Ledger has 5 different signers for you to choose from. We got the Ledger Stacks and the Flex that we always talk about here on the channel. And now they have this one, the lightweight Ledger Nano 5. It's got a 2.8-inch screen, super slick, super smooth. I'm actually going to get my hands on that one as well this week. I'm not going to tell you too much more about it until I can show it to you guys in person. I'm traveling this week. I've been on a lot of flights, so I apologize about the being all over the place when it comes to live streams, because there has been a lot to talk about. And you would have no idea how many questions I've had from people showing me this chart saying, what's wrong with Bitcoin? Is it all over? Is Bloomberg right when they're talking about the great Bitcoin power shift is happening with whales dumping 500,000 coins? I'm kind of glad I actually found this perspective and these articles this morning, kind of breaking down what's going on. Bitcoin whales are moving billions of dollars of Bitcoin into BlackRock's ETF. Now, again, it's the framing here of a lot of these articles I disagree with. As self-custody declines after 15 years. Again, another reason why I wanted to make this video was kind of poke through the noise. This, just because $3 billion went into BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, this does not mean self-custody is declining. I mean, if we have a look at the broader trend of things, we've never had more people taking self-custody of Bitcoin than today in 2025. This here's my favorite charts. Looking at the number of Bitcoin on exchanges, you can see in November 2022, there's 3.4 million Bitcoin on exchanges. Today, there's less than 2.4 million. Quick maths at home says there's more than 1 million Bitcoin have left the exchanges. They're moving into the custody of individuals. So again, when you're reading all these articles and all these headlines, especially when the price is going sideways, it's very easy to get caught up in the noise. Again, the signal here, self-custody is increasing. Yes, the number's gone down for October, and it's not the best October for Bitcoin, that's for sure. But it's still early in Q4. Big things could be coming. I think I'm still fundamentally incredibly bullish on Bitcoin right now. It's incredibly difficult to be bearish on Bitcoin with macro where it is. I mean, I haven't seen a more bullish setup in a long time. I think in a video the other day, I was telling you guys, I'd much prefer to be entering the Bitcoin space right now, buying my first Bitcoin at 110,000 than at $10,000 per coin 4 or 5 years ago. I think Bitcoin's significantly de-risked. I think it's 100 times safer now that all the biggest banks, BlackRock, billionaires like Michael Saylor are all fighting over Bitcoin, buying a ton of Bitcoin. And a lot of that risk is gone. And let me be clear, there is still a lot of risks in Bitcoin. A common risk is obviously the $5 wrench attack. Somebody breaks in, they put a gun to your head, give me your Bitcoin. Obviously, there's a problem. If you have all your Bitcoin on a hardware wallet, naturally, there is a big problem. But that problem has a solution as well. Obviously, you can do a multi-sig setup where you have 3 keys associated to that one wallet. To move Bitcoin out of that wallet, you need 2 signatures from those 3 keys. Obviously, have those stashed in 3 different locations. You're a lot safer. I think an even better solution than that is time locking a wallet. Again, if you guys don't know about time locking, you can lock a Bitcoin wallet for a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, or a decade. And it doesn't matter who has your keys. If the wallet's locked and it's time locked, you can't move your Bitcoin out of there. This is why I'm a big fan of what Bitvault just created. They've created this really, really cool application that allows you to time lock your Bitcoin. So right now they're offering a pre-sale. They're offering yearly access to the application. I think right now they're actually running a Bitcoin white paper day sale by the looks of things, because the price is discounted. You can get 1 year access for $119. So you get access to the application for $119, and you can muck around and create as many time-locked Bitcoin wallets as you wish. So highly, highly, highly recommend you grab that offer. As you can see, we were telling you guys about the lifetime deals. I think there was 42 of those. They're all gone now. They're done. That's why we're now offering yearly deals. And again, it's limited. It's still a pre-sale. There's a finite number of them, and that offer ends on the 28th of November. So it's 50% off for your first year. So highly recommend you check out Bitvault. It's not only great for inheritance planning, time locking a Bitcoin wallet, but it gives you extra added security. Again, what if someone puts a gun to your head? We know you have multiple wallets. Drive us to your other wallet, Luke. Make us move your Bitcoin. Well, if it's time locked, sorry, son, I can't move my Bitcoin. And again, that's how I have my Bitcoin security set up. I have multi-signature setups with keys in different countries, and I have multiple time-locked Bitcoin wallets. I can't move the Bitcoin, so come find me. I can't do shit. You can't get any Bitcoin from me. And hopefully BlackRock can't either. Now, speaking about BlackRock, I get it. It could be a little bit dark, like my background. It's Apparently, I've lost sunlight over here. But I think what I will say is that typically when you see the narrative sentiments this low, typically marks bottoms. Like Bitcoin right now, it's incredibly boring. As we showed you guys, fear and greed index, we're at 34. We're fearful, and Bitcoin's 15% away from all-time highs. I don't think we're going to see another year worth of price suppression. Again, could be wrong. I was wrong about October. -6%. Take that. But as BitBilly in the chat says, I think it's buying time. That's just my thoughts. I'm incredibly bullish. I continue to show you guys every day. The macro setup for Bitcoin couldn't be more bullish right now. I mean, the only people losing money today, crypto traders. Again, $19 billion was liquidated a couple of weeks ago in that massive flash crash. Everybody with altcoins, everybody, even with Bitcoin on an exchange. Again, you don't own the thing unless you've got it in your own self-custody. Again, another tool that I think is essential for your toolkit when it comes to self-custody, get the titanium plates from Stampseed. Your 12 or 24 words should not be on paper. They should only ever be on titanium. Again, they're going to give you 15% off if you use that promo code Luke15. And again, go take care of all of this while the price is boring. Go and learn about a hardware wallet. Back up your Bitcoin to steal. Do all of this while the price is doing nothing. I think so many people will get, again, I've been lucky enough to see, 3 bull markets now. The same shit happens every year, man. Every bull run, everybody's too obsessed with the price. It can be very distracting. There's a lot of noise in the space. It's the same in 2017, same in 2020. It'll probably be the same in 2025. So go and sort your goodies out before the price action gets real wild. As Incognito says, it's always a good time to buy Bitcoin. I think with that note, guys, I'm going to go turn some lights on in my lounge room. I'm going to end this stream here. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. See you all in the next one.